Hey tuber dudes and dudettes, welcome back to the channel. I am going to build for you guys, well for me really, for your enjoyment, your viewing pleasure, a bug out trailer for my bike. Now in all honesty, this will probably be used for going to get groceries and stuff. I've started riding the bike to the grocery store for every trip. You know, just trying to get a little more active time to burn off some of this unwanted fat. Okay, so I went online to try to purchase a bicycle trailer, and you either have two choices. You either have a garden cart type thing, which is really wide, and that poses a problem, to me anyway, or you have a four-wheeled trailer, which actually I got this idea by pulling my kid's radio flyer back and forth to the grocery store many times, and now one of the plastic wheels is starting to crack, and so I just said, okay, we need to do something a little more rigid. The trailers that you can buy are made more or less for like hauling a poodle down Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills, and the price is about the same. I wanted something that's more of a workhorse and simple and cheap. So what we've got here is a side view, which I measured the height of the bicycle that it's going to go on, and I came up with whatever that is. I'll give you all the dimensions later as we go through the video. But I'm going to make some cool cutouts in the side. I'm just trying to keep it lightweight. I'm going to use some electrical conduit that I can bend into that handle, so it'll have some bends up and down, as well as a coupling in the middle there where the handle will come together. I got 2 tires from Northern Equipment for 25 bucks each, which I think you could probably do better than that. And then, so looking at the end, the rear view, this thing's only going to be about 20 inches wide, plus the width of the tires. Now, I came up with the width that I wanted by getting on my bicycle and measuring the width of my elbows, sort of like a cat uses its whiskers to determine if a spot is big enough to crawl inside. So now we will machine this on the CNC machine, but you could easily make these parts by hand and cut dados and whatnot. And you could even make those cool cutouts in the side with a hole saw and a table saw. So I get a lot of heat sometimes that my videos aren't woodworking videos. It's more manufacturing, and I would agree with that 100%. So let's machine these parts. All right, so I've got all my machining done here. The only thing about you know, when you've got all these different parts on one sheet, there's a lot of machining. You got to make sure that your you know, your compensation, your left or right, that you're machining on the right side or left side of the line. You got to go through each one, because if you get one wrong, it basically scraps the whole sheet. Now it's a beautiful thing when you get them all right, but hey, it doesn't always happen. So anyway, we've got all of our holes going to be drilled, our little machining. Oh, and then I've got a little foot that I've designed here. Where is that? Right there. That you can adjust down on the front of it. Of course, that'll make more sense when we go to put it together. Alright, it's kind of loud in here right now. It's a work day, so main thing you want to check before you let the table vacuum go is all your dados. And if it looks pretty good, if this is the bottom, that's one side, that's one side. All my dados look like to be the right depth. I did test fit a piece of plywood in this groove, and it's very, very tight, so that might be a little bit of a problem. The back side of the front of the cart, or I'm sorry, the back side of the back of the cart, the conduit will bottom out here, and it will go through the front of the cart. So all that looks good. Dados look good. The retractable support for the front looks good. That will be where the bolt hole goes. Alright, I'm going to take a 1/4 inch round over bit and run it through these grooves while they're still on the table, and flip them over and do both sides. Alright, so there's the rounded over, and there's the dry fit. I had to shorten the length of this bottom by about 1/8 of an inch. The width was perfect though. And there's the other piece getting ready to go on. And then I'll have to drill out for my axle, which needs to be a 1/2 inch hole. And I'll get some glue and clamp this thing up. I might actually just tack it together. Basically what we have here is our conduit sticking out. I'm going to make some marks on that and hopefully get my bends right. And this piece of conduit goes into this hole here that is not all the way through. And what I'm going to do is put a pipe clamp right there so the conduit can't slide back out. And then as far as our axle, we've got a threaded rod that we've put a nut and a washer. On this side I'm going to put a big washer, a lock washer, and a nut, a spacer nut, and then the wheel, and then another nut. Alright, so what I got is two 20-inch wheels from Northern Tool. They were about 25 bucks each. Like I said, I think I can do better if I searched around a little longer. So I got I don't know if I need that nut in there. Well, actually I do to hold this tight. This actually strengthens this thing up really nicely. But anyway, so I've got a washer on both sides and then a lock nut. And then on this wheel I noticed if you tighten it too tight it doesn't roll very well, so I loosened it back up What I really need here is a nylock nut, probably, but I think she'll roll pretty good. Alright, sorry for the low light here. So I put a mark at where the wagon is, and I measured 2 inches longer. Now I've got a bend, and I place that mark right where the arrow is on the bender, and I'm bending this to 60 degrees. And that will be when this 60-degree mark, you can see that, is parallel to the floor. When I take it out, I'll show you. Again, this is the mark for the wagon. That's the part that's going in. I've made a, let's see, it's 120 degrees like this, 60 degrees like that from this line, imaginary line, out to here. Now I measured 18 inches and put another mark from where it stops turning and becomes straight. So from here to here is 18 inches. Now I'm going to make a bend that way that is parallel with that. Alright, there was my first bend and there's my second bend. The problem is, in order to bend this 1 second, I had to get up on a bench that was tall enough because I couldn't, once that's bent that way. I haven't bent conduit in a long time, so there's probably a better way to do it. But the other thing is I need 18 inches in difference in height between there and there, and I've got about 21. So, conduit's pretty cheap, and that's why you put marks on it. I'm going to back this up about 3 inches or maybe even 4 inches on a new piece and make another bend. And one thing about bending conduit is you can always bend it a little bit more. It's really difficult to take the bend out of it, or impossible. Before I make my second piece, I am going to go ahead and lay it down and make my bend up and at least test that part out. Now that should be pretty easy, but when I laid this conduit down on the floor, it had a little twist to it. So I just stood on this and picked up on that, and I got it nice and flat. And I think you should get both pieces nice and flat before you make that bend up. Alright, that will be acceptable. Now I just have to cut it where I want to cut it, because the other one coming the other direction will turn and go to that one. Hopefully I'm not boring y'all with these bends. And I've got marks all along the way, so that I can hopefully measure and transfer to 2 sticks and bend them both at the same time, one left, one right, and get this puppy working. Alright, I've got 2 identical pieces bent, just like I did before. And, I compared them to this piece that's wrong, and I'm going to deduct what I need. And I think it's important to get this angle the same, so I've laid them both on top of one another. And if they're a little bit off, you can kind of, manipulate them a little bit by hand. But you just want to lay it on top of the other one. And make sure you got a left and a right. And you see I'm supposed to have 30 inches there. But I'm showing 18 3/4 there, which is off. And it probably has to do with my angle. Obviously if my angle's, well, I don't know. That should, who knows? I say we cut them, flip it over, and see if the daggone thing works. Alright, because I need a right and a left, and I want them to be the same. After I bend them, I mirror imaged them, and I've just I've stood on these and I've bent them around to where, twist a little bit. Do whatever you have to do to make them look as exact opposites, as you can. Alright, well there she is. I did miss the height. I got to figure something out in my bends, but once this is you got them on the table upside down. Or actually, I'm probably going to scratch it doing this. So this is probably how it will store away standing up. Put a couple hose clamps on the back side. Those go in there. They go above the threaded rod. And then find center and cut that. And it rolls great. I mean, it's going to do exactly what it's supposed to do, yeah. Let's road test it. I think under heavy weight, because the other side of that axle is not supported, you know, it would probably not be that great. But yeah, I'd say overall it's a success. I don't have my little support leg on there yet, but there it is. There's the Zombie Apocalypse tow behind the bicycle bug out trailer. You guys, y'all take care.